If I were starting from today, knowing what I know, I would focus on Web3 because none of them know how to do marketing. They've over-raised a ton of money and I know that space well and I'm passionate about it. True people that are trying to build in Web3, like they're using Web2 technologies, like Web2 audiences. SEO is a lost art because people like to pay attention to the shiny object. SEO will never die. Like I know people like Gary Vee are like, oh yeah, SEO is dying, it's dead. If humans are searching for stuff, it's not gonna die.
It has to work or it has to work.
Welcome to an episode of Circle of Greatness. As I keep telling you, I am bringing you some of the brightest, some of the best entrepreneurs in the world. And this is somebody I actually been admiring for a long time. I'm in this actual mastermind and just all around amazing guy. When I talk about building 8 and 9 figure companies, like just an amazing entrepreneur, and I get the chance to bring them to y'all. Without further ado, I want to introduce agency owner, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, all around amazing person, Eric Sue. What's up, my brother?
Thanks for having me, Neil.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks so much, man. So I'm just grateful you on, man. As I got to give you your flowers. I told you this once, but your podcast is by far is my top 3 favorite podcasts in the world, right? And it's just the idea of being able to come on, learn something within 5 to 8 minutes, bro. It's powerful. So thanks for that, bro.
Yeah, it's people like you that keep us going. So.
Yeah, man. How long have you been in just this digital world? Like, cause I feel like we were in the car just talking like, yeah, I was in that mastermind 8 years ago. Like, how long have you been in this world and who actually exposed you to it?
Yeah, so I've been in the digital space for like 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And
how old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 36.
Okay, so 22, you got started.
22, 23-ish, something like that. Yeah,
Yep.
and
I was working a dead-end job coming out of college. So I went to good public school. I went to UC San Diego, right?
Okay.
And I was like, oh, look at me. Like, and then the only job I could get was a data entry job. So I was making like 32 grand a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And then I would go to work every day. I'd just, come to work early, play poker in the background, not do any work, and leave at like 2 p.m.
Yep.
Had no motivation. And then my friend was like, hey, you should check out this digital marketing thing. And then she now works at Airbnb. But through that, I kind of never looked back. And then, I just, after that, man, I played a lot of games growing up, right? Yeah. Digital marketing was the first thing. I was like, man, this actually feels like a game. Yeah. And then I realized it's not digital marketing, it's actually business. That's the biggest game.
What was your first entry into when she said that? What digital marketing is such a wide array of things, because I know you run an agency, you do a bunch of different things, investor, serial investor, like you got a lot going on. But when you started, what was the first introduction to digital marketing?
Yeah. Like,
what did you do first?
Yeah, so I think for anyone trying to start in this space, I picked up a free internship. So I was working that job, right? So I got a free internship, so they didn't pay me. But when I got home, instead of like just messing around at like 3 p.m. or so, I just study until about 11 or 12 a.m. really. And then by that time, it took me about 3 months to go through that internship. They gave me all the courses in the world. I started learning SEO. I started learning all these things. And then I actually ended up taking a marketing kind of generalist job at an e-commerce company. Then I took on an SEO role. Like I changed 5 jobs in the next 12 months and my parents were freaking out. But like I just kept not necessarily chasing the money, but I was chasing, as long as I felt like I was growing more, I would just keep changing jobs. Because I didn't care about loyalty. I didn't care about 401k, all this stuff. I didn't care about pension. I just I need to learn, right? And that's how I learned.
It's so funny you say, I tell people this, I think this is important, and this varies on the subject, but I don't believe you should work a job if you're not learning. I believe when you're working a job, and I'm like pro, do your own thing, go out on, like, I'm pro, like, be a full-time entrepreneur if you can, right? But if I'm going to work a job, I tell them you should be learning on the job, right? We were at Topgolf literally yesterday, and a gentleman came up to us like, hey, what do you inspire me, Neo? Give me some tips. And the first one, I was like, probably working here. Like one of my guys meet was like, he mentioned something, and I'm like, yo, if you're going to work a job, it needs to be something related to what you want to do. Topgolf, is nothing wrong with Topgolf, but you're a trader.
Yeah.
You want to be an entrepreneur. Like, you need to go intern, right? I tell my videographer, one of my videographers, Andrew, I'm like, hey, whether you stay here forever or not, at least you're going to learn a whole lot about business, 7, 8, 9 figure conversations daily. You're going to learn how to become a better leader. You're going to learn how to run, like learn at least. So I think I'm happy you said it, because anybody listen to this, I want them to know the importance of learning while working.
Warren Buffett, right? So Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, right? They're billionaires, right? They're kind of Uncle Warren, Uncle Munger. And so here's the thing, like, when Warren was actually, I think it was Warren that was interning for Benjamin Graham, who's one of the greatest investors. Like he wrote this book called The Intelligent Investor. Benjamin Graham's like, I think Warren, he's like, yeah, I'll work for you for free or whatever, right? And then Benjamin's like, dude, no, like you should be paying me to work here because you're going to learn so much. Yeah. And that's like, if you find a job where you feel like that's a situation where maybe you should be paying them, that's probably the right spot to go to.
I tell people, I'm like, listen, a lot of these roles I have, I'm like, I probably can find somebody who will want to do this for free or pay me to do it. Yeah, I mean, pay because of the information, just what's possible. Yeah, just being in the environment, proximity is everything.
People don't know what they don't know, so yeah.
So you started with SEO, and how long? Like, tell me, what's the next thing you did? Did you start an agency? What was the next thing after? How long were you dabbling with job to job?
So that. After I started learning 12 months, I changed 5 jobs. I worked at an agency doing SEO. I worked at like an e-commerce company. We sold like truck parts, right? It was called 4-Wheel Parts. Worked there for like a month. And then I ended up becoming an SEO strategist at this company called Break Media, and they owned a bunch of like properties. And I actually got fired. You know why I got fired? I got fired because I was getting bored at that job. So I was getting paid like $80,000 a year or whatever. I was like 24 years old or whatever. And like, I was like, oh, I started getting bored. I was like, I don't feel like I'm learning anymore. And so then I decided to start like a consulting thing. And one of the leads actually reached out to the front desk to inquire about like, hey, how's it working with Eric, right? So he told the front desk. The next day, the COO calls me in, and then I'm fired for starting like for having a side hustle.
Wow.
Right, which is crazy to me because like I am a big proponent of people having side hustles, as long as they're not competitive. So then I got fired, and then I wasn't scared when I got fired. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like I can do my own thing now. And then I just started every day. Like this was like, again, 12, 13 years ago. We didn't have Loom. We couldn't make recordings easily, right? I would just like make 20-minute videos, record. I would find someone's email, do it for like, Nike or L'Oreal, or I just make like 20 videos a day, 20 minutes each, just analyzing their websites. Yeah. I wasn't sure if the emails would go through, but I just kept sending them, right?
Wow.
Eventually it worked. It got to one guy, and then one guy ended up paying me like $30,000 a month to do SEO, and I was like 25 years old.
$30,000 a month.
$30,000 a month, yeah.
Wow.
And another guy, I put myself on like, it's now called Upwork, but back in the day it was Elance, right? Yeah. And on Elance, I was working for $25 an hour, and this one guy's like, dude, can I just hire you? Like, I'll pay you $300,000 a year, and I'll give you like 5% profit share. Yeah. But you got to move to Philly, and you guys are from Philly. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not moving to Philly. It's too cold, right? Yeah. So, but like that just goes to show you, like, it wasn't like I was like amazing or anything. I just compounded my skills in a very short amount of time, and it's not like I'm smart. It's just like I just got hungry. Yeah. So it's just like you got to find what's interesting to you and just quadruple down on it.
I got to ask you this because, I mean, we got to go, like, again, my podcast, I told you I want to make it almost like a master class, and I'm always learning. I still to this day, and I may be wrong, I don't fully grasp what SEO is. Could you give me I want a crash course on what SEO is, and then how can Neil, what can I do? How can I start adopting this in whether my business or the ones that I acquire? I need to, because we were learning about SEO earlier, but I'm like, yo, I still need more.
We'll go with like what I'd do if I were Neil, and then what I would do if I were starting out. Perfect. So we'll do starting out first. Yeah. Excuse me. So if I were starting, like when I started out doing SEO,
what does SEO stand for?
Search engine optimization, right? And so when you go on Google, when you search for like white shoes or basketball shoes or whatever, it's like the ads are the ones that show up first. It says ads on it, and then you have the organic results. That's SEO, right? And when you rank highly on SEO, like you're gonna get the first 3 results typically get the lion's share of the clicks. If you get more clicks, you have a conversion rate on your website. So every like 1 to 100 people that buy on your website, that's a 1% conversion rate, right? Yeah. Then you just figure out what your average order value is, and then you can figure out like, oh, if I'm able to drive this amount more traffic, I'm gonna get this amount more revenue. So SEO seems like this black box because it's like, wait, so how do you get like the number 1, 2, 3 rankings, right? And it's very simple. Still in today we're recording in let's just call it the 2020s, right? We'll make this evergreen. The top 2 factors when it comes to SEO are content and links. Yeah. Right. It's like, oh yeah, you got to create content. Well, that doesn't really help me that much. You got to figure out, one, you got to have a great, sure, you have to have a great title. You have to have good data in there. You have to do your keyword research. You got to figure out what your customers want, right? But then afterwards, where people mostly miss is they forget about the links portion. So if you start a brand new website, like links are like those blue things that you click, right? I hope we all know what links are. But like the more links you have, the more votes of confidence that you have, and the search engines see that. They're like, oh, there's so many sites linking, and like these sites are actually legit websites. So like if you're linking from like CNN or Nike or whatever, that's like super legit versus like, you know, Eric's brand new website. Those might have a score of like, you know, 90 out of 100.
So to give me an example, I got a blog, right? Neil's blog or a newsletter. And my newsletter is teaching people how to grow and start companies. So is this an example of, hey, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to is Leveling Up by Eric Sue, and it's a link there? Is that?
Yeah, that's an example of a link.
Okay, got it.
You're asking about links, right?
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Exactly.
So the more links I have on the site, the better, you're saying.
Yeah, and this is where it gets a little technical, so let me know if I'm going a little too deep. But your score, your domain authority or your domain rating, so you can use these SEO tools, it'll score your site on a scale of 0 to 100, right? The higher it is, the easier it is for you to rank for other things. So for example, our website on Single Grain, the agency that I have, our domain rating's about an 80, right? And that means whatever we tend to publish around marketing, because we publish so much marketing stuff, will rank highly. So if you search for my website, like we rank for a lot of agency stuff, like marketing agency, paid media agency, CRO agency, right? We rank like top 5 for like all of those. But that, I'll just tell you, I'll experience share first and we'll go into the weeds more. But when I first took over Single Grain, the ad agency, so I didn't found the company, I took it over back in 2014. And you know, the site was only getting like 2,000 visits a month.
When you say took it over, did you acquire it or work there?
I acquired it,
Okay,
and I'll share the story in a bit too.
Good.
It all comes full circle. And you know, we weren't getting much traffic at the time. It was like a crappy website. But what I did was I would guest post, meaning that like Neil, let's say you have a blog, I would go post on your blog, but I'll link back to my website. But I would post on like, you know, HubSpot's website. I would post on Social Media Examiner. Like these are legit websites, right? And I would always have it linked back to my site. And then over the next 3 to 4 years, I started ranking #1 for like digital marketing agency, right? And that's how we started getting clients like Uber, like Amazon and things like that. But the problem, most people don't like talking about SEO because like TikTok's fast, right? YouTube Shorts is fast. YouTube's a lot slower, but when you do shorts like LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, you get the quick like, you know, gratification.
LinkedIn got shorts now, right?
No, they took that away.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Or they took stories away.
Okay.
But LinkedIn has, they have long form, but the organic reach is really good. So it's like, people are like, yeah, why should I touch SEO if I'm like getting good organic reach? The problem with that is like investing. You guys are, you know, business people, right? Like you got to think long term, like Uncle Warren long term, right? It's, I don't care about the short term stuff. Like if you really believe in Bitcoin, like it's long term, right? Who cares about the fluctuations? SEO is the same game. It's a long-term game. It's going to take you 3 to 4 years to build from scratch. But once you get there, like the best entrepreneurs I know, like we're going on a trip in Turkey in a couple months, like all of them are good at SEO, right? And they're all in different businesses. Some are doing like 50 million a year, 80 million a year, 300 million a year. We all know
Is
SEO.
that a mastermind in Turkey?
That's, it's like a separate thing. Yeah. We all pay costs. No one's making any profit. We're just going, right? So yeah. We can talk about that later.
I need to be there.
Yeah. So, but like the key thing is like, SEO is a lost art because people like to pay attention to the shiny object. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a marketer, right? Like, I like all the new stuff, but like, if you know that, like, you have such a weapon, and SEO will never die. Like, I know people like Gary Vee are like, oh yeah, SEO is dying, it's dead, you know? Dude, if humans are searching for stuff, it's not gonna die. Like, maybe the formatting change a little, maybe it's Chat GPT in the future, who knows? But it's still gonna be there.
Yeah, that's good, man. So just so somebody. A client like a Uber, now what do a type of company like that pay for SEO? Like,
yeah, well, for them,
these bigger companies,
they came through SEO, but they paid for paid media. So they were paying, I think it was like 80 or 100 grand a month, which was our management fee.
Wow.
And it was for recruitment. So they're doing it for employer branding at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we worked with Lyft as well in their enterprise and B2B. That's a whole nother story, but like.
So just so I understand, what Single Grain is. You are using SEO to acquire these larger companies, but when they come to Single Grain, I ran ads to hire people for Uber. Is that so?
Yeah.
Do you do Facebook ads, Instagram, YouTube?
So we do paid search, we do paid social, we do Amazon, we do Spotify, like podcasts. It's just wherever the people are hanging out.
So. And do you have, for your agency, is there a limit? Like yo, I don't work with people under $50,000 that paying me a month. Is it a limit?
It used to be like 50,000 and up only for ad spend, but because we get so many SMB leads, so I get a couple hundred leads a month. we've opened it up because the majority of our leads are like SMB, right?
Yeah.
So we started to open that up a little more. So we're more flexible now. And then for the ones that we don't take,
And explain what SMB for somebody who don't know.
SMB is small business.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The great thing though is like, let's say we get 400 or 500 leads a month, right?
Yep.
The majority we can't serve. And so we refer, let's say 50% of them out to smaller agencies, and we might take like a piece of that. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah.
And then we take the bigger ones and we cherry pick them, and then we might, we'll just continue growing my lead flow. Like this year, my goal is to triple the lead flow to maybe like 1,500 a month or so. And then just keep growing that. But like, again, that's the power of SEO. I'm compounding on what I already have.
Wow. So now we talking about me now. What do I do?
Yep. So for you let's say you have like, a couple $100,000 or a couple $1 million to set aside for this, right?
Yeah.
If I were you, like, we're impatient, we're entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
right? Like I would just go buy websites.
Yeah.
And so like, in your space right now, you talked about like, I'm not gonna use that word, but right, your space, right? Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of publications out there where they're monetized through AdSense, right? So AdSense is basically when you visit a website and you see a lot of these Google ads, and it says like ad choice or whatever, like that's Google serving ads for that website, and then basically they will pay that website. So the publisher, they'll pay them 70% usually, and Google will take 30%. So it's actually very lucrative, right? But when people do that, that usually means they don't know how to monetize their site well. Yeah. So that's your opportunity to come in and say, hey, I'll tell you what, how much are you making right now? I'm making like, 200,000 a year. Okay, I'll give you 400,000 or 500,000, whatever. Yeah. And then that's where you can, the things we're talking about in the car, you can, do like a small down payment and like, seller finance it over like 4 years or whatever, right? Yeah. That means breaking the payments out over 4 years and them carrying the note.
Yeah.
At that point, you're buying a site that has a high domain authority and maybe it's getting a couple 100,000 visits a month. Now you just drive it to your stuff, Neil's mastermind, Neil's products, right? Neil's email list, like you're going to be able to monetize way better. Yeah. So,
wow. Sheesh. So I gotta hurry up. And this is part of me acquiring business strategies anyway. So let's talk so we got people listening and I want to start an agency. I don't want to start, but I'm saying, what would be the first steps to start? Like, I want to go out and start me an agency to start generating anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 a month, and then also want to talk about generating, 6, 7 figures a month, because that's only one client for you. So, what should somebody do?
Yeah, I'll just go back to like the day when I got fired, right? Yeah. So like sure, I had the client that was paying the $30,000, but before I got there, to rewind a second, I had clients that were paying like $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month. So like when you're starting in the beginning, like you don't get to choose your niche. Yeah. Like people talk about niching down and all that, right? Like picking a category. You got to put food on the table. So you got to take whatever you can get, right? Like you get slapped around. Like people are you could get the worst clients in the world, but like you got to kind of you have to learn to earn, right? So you're gonna get slapped around a little bit. That's cool. And like for me, I was like on Elance, I was doing all these like odd jobs, right? But then I started to realize, like my category is actually like working with SaaS clients, right? Or e-commerce. Yeah. I'm going to focus. If you're doing agency, when they say niche down, focus on a category, it's really 3 or 4. It doesn't have to just be one.
Got it.
Right? So I started out, making 1,500, 2,000. And here's the thing, you talk about making like $100,000 a month. Like you only need like 10 clients paying you $8,000 a month, right? Or 8,333, right? Yeah. And you're good. Yeah. And so like, it's actually not that hard. And so I think agencies are one of the greatest businesses to start in the beginning because like there's not a lot of capital expenditure, right? So CapEx. Yeah. And if you fail, like at least you tried, at least you learned a lot. Yeah. And then like, it's such great cash flows. Like let's say you're making $1 million a year. You can probably take like half of that or more than half of that home if you want. I'm not like that. Like entrepreneurs, like, if you really want to grow, you reinvest for the next couple of years. You don't have any like mortgage, you don't have a family to worry about, like all in, right? Go for the next decade. Yeah. And then you're building enterprise value in your company. And like, the event I just did, like, my podcast co-host Neil, like he's compounded his brand over the years, right? Like, that's why in like 5 years, he's built like a 9-figure agency, right? And so I just think even if you don't want to do that, you can take that cash flows, go invest in stocks, go invest in whatever you like. Yeah. I just think the best return, like I had the data, Neil has the data too. Like we've compared numbers. We're just like, dude, the best thing is just to put money back into the business. I don't need to worry about real estate. I don't need to worry about crypto. I don't need to worry about the next whatever, like the next fad. Like
your guy Hormozy, my guy. He says the best thing you can ever invest in is the SME 500.
Yeah, and that's kind of your own business too. That's still SME 500.
Hey, listen, I had to stop the episode. Listen, really quick.
This is the book responsible for making so many people grow their social media, right? Their income, their impact, and influence, leveraging social media. And you're probably looking at it like, yo, Neil, I don't feel like waiting for you to ship me this book, right, y'all? Go to My IG Cash Book right now, myigcashbook.com. Get a direct download to get this in your inbox so you can immediately start leveraging the strategies. This is over 86 pages. Every single chapter is going to give you a gem to grow your audience, to grow your impact, and to grow your influence, right? And I literally created it for you. This is the same thing that I literally watch people go crazy with. So go to myigcashbook.com, go ahead and claim your copy. It will be in your inbox. And when you do that, buy everything that it comes with. I got an IG course with it and a bunch of other things that I know is going to truly help you go crazy. myigcashbook.com. Let's go. Let me ask you this, because you said with an agency, focus on 3 to 4 niches. Starting right now, if you were starting over, which niche would you focus on? And what would be those 3 to 4 niches? Like 2023, right? Starting right now, what niche would you possibly focus on?
If I were starting from today, knowing what I know, I would focus, even though there's a crypto winter right now, I would focus on Web3. I would focus on Web3 infrastructure companies because none of them know how to do marketing. They've overraised a ton of money, and I know that space well, and I'm passionate about it. So I would just focus on that. And then I would just focus on doing, kind of the marketing stuff that I know because they need that, right? I think they're all realizing that all the Web3 marketing, like all the PR community, like that's important. But like true people that are trying to build in Web3, like they're using Web2 technologies, like Web2 audiences.
So just so I'm understanding, should somebody go learn as much as they can right now about Web3, even though the stuff is down? Go spend that year like you learned so you can get fluent in Web3 and then start that agency around Web3?
So I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just saying that's what I would do if I was starting from scratch.
In general, what you would do. And the second thing is, right now, what do you see right now that a lot of businesses, most businesses need Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube. Like, I remember when I first started running Facebook ads, I was running Facebook and YouTube. I was paying one agency $4,000 a month. I was paying another agency $3,000 a month, $7,000 to run my Facebook and Instagram. And I asked him, I said, hey, curious, how much time are you spending on my account a week? Said about an hour. I'm like, an hour?
Yep.
So $4,000. So just say 2 hours a week, like $4,000 for this YouTube. He said, I'm spending an hour a week on your account, just checking something. I got to give them the money. I got to give them the creatives. I'm like, man, that's a good business to be in.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. Like, if you're going to start an agency, you want to make sure the services that you sell, like, you would actually pay for them. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, like, as long as like you're paying to $4,000 and they're giving you like, 3, 4, 5x, like a multiple on it, then it's worth it, right? Like, I wouldn't look at the hours as much, but this is part of the reason why like I don't like most agencies, right? Because like the value, like you're sold this dream, but then you're not exactly given the value, right? So you have to make sure that you're not like 90% of the agencies out there. You want to be the top 10% where you over deliver. How? Yeah. So this is where you have to learn the art of client services, right? And so this is like, you have to learn how to under promise and over deliver, right? So like, Neil, like, hey, like, what do you need? How are things going right now? I just want to check in. We just onboarded last week, right? Like, what else do you need right now? What are your problems right now? What else? Like, even if I can't help you directly, like, you're like, I'm having these problems with SEO right now. I know a guy. I'm having these problems with analytics right now. I know a guy, right? By the way, Neil, like, I also did this 5-minute video. I made it for you. I think we should be checking out these things, blah, 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 blah. And you just got to keep innovating, right? Yeah. Like, I'm giving you ideas so it's not stagnating, but also you're not going to be able to solve most of them. You're just like, dude, can you just do it for me? And either I will make introductions or like I will just do it. And that's what a true relationship is. It's not just, like, you're paying me $4,000 a month, so I'm going to spend an hour and I'm just going to like click a couple buttons and like that's it. Like, that's the status quo, and that's how most people do things.
That's power. Because as you said that, I'm like, I need to go check in back on several of our mastermind members. Like, as you said, I'm like, I was ready to be like, create something where we're just checking in more. Just
dude, there's some good questions here. Like, it's like, I do this with employees too. It's like especially direct reports, like every like month or so, it's like, hey, like, Neil, tell me how's home life, 1 through 5. You might say like 3. I was like, what would it make? What would need to happen to make it a 4 or 5? Yeah. Right? And you say X, Y, Z. So I like know what you need. I'll be, Neil, tell me how's work life. 2. I was like, okay, what would it take to make it a 3? And I'm just understanding you a lot more. Like, how's your work from home setup? two. Why is it a 2? What do you need, right? And then it's just like I'm actually building a relationship with you, and it's not a transaction. And so you do it with clients, you do it with people that are close to you, you do it with your direct reports, and it just goes a long way.
Wow. Let me ask you this. And we'll wrap up the agency talk in a second. What do I need in terms of team? Like, who is helping it? Is it a project manager? Is it dealing with 10 clients, right? Because I know you said you started off, I don't know how long you worked by yourself. Who are the first people you begin to add on your team to be able to over-deliver these clients?
So I'll experience share here. So like in these groups, EO and YPO, they have this gestalt thing, right? Yep. So, and what that means is you experience share, not give advice in this situation. So I remember when we were first starting out, the first key hire was a client services person that could do the work. So it was a paid media person. So he did the work, but he also managed the client, and he was a crucial hire, right? And I still give him a lot of credit to this day. Like without him, we wouldn't be where we are now. First domino to fall. Like he believed in what we're doing, right? The next one was an executive assistant. So she was good. She was working at Oracle before. Like she was like on top of things. She looked ahead for me. She was great. She had never been an EA before. The next hire after that was an operations person. He took a major gamble on me. He came from Australia, and he just needed a job, right? And I was like, oh yeah, we have 15 people, or whatever. We had like 3 like full-time people, and the other 12 were like contractors. And he had built like cultures, like people squads and all that. Like he carried the torch forward for the next 2 years. It was just like we grew like a wildfire because of him, because he knew how to help recruit people as well. So I would say those 3 were the key few for me. I would say in general though, probably EA would come first. But here's the key thing, like when I got that client services person, his name's Philippe. I was able to then just focus on marketing and sales, and nobody's going to be able to do marketing and sales better than the founder. I don't care if you're a SaaS company, I don't care if you're an agency. So
I'm writing all this down. The operations person that's so necessary in every business.
So there's this concept of a visionary and an integrator, right? So
I'm the visionary.
You're for sure the visionary, right?
Period.
I'm also the visionary too. But you need an integrator to make things happen, because visionary is going to come up with ideas all the time, right? Let me ask you this. For every 5 people, how many visionaries do you think there are versus integrators?
For every 5 people in the company, you're saying?
Every 5 people in general. So how many are visionaries?
How many visionaries versus integrator? Probably 4.
4 visionaries per integrator.
Like you saying, if 5 people walk in this room, how many are visionaries and how many integrators? Because I'm thinking about my crew.
You said
of people.
4, right?
I'm gonna say 4. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, all right,
yeah,
okay.
There you go. So it's really hard to find a good integrator. And like once you find one, you better treasure the hell out of that person, take care of that person, because like things just don't get done. So
how do I find top talent? What are some things you've been able to do? You talked about Philippe. You talked about somebody else that ran the company for a few years. What are some things that people could do to start finding and acquiring and retaining top talent?
We'll start with the first part. Like, you're gonna hate this answer because it requires work, and like I hate doing this myself too. Like, but like, man, when I get on LinkedIn and I'm reaching out to people, like it's just like the response rates are way higher. Like people are really interested. I get on the call with them. Like nobody's gonna sell the company better than you can, right? And so when it comes to critical talent, whether it's myself or like Neil's company, like Neil's CEO, like Mike, right?
He's nice.
Watching
He's tight
TV.
with it,
He'd just be like on LinkedIn, reaching out to people. Like when I do that, like things just move and you find amazing people. And so that's such a generic answer, but like once you're like, hey Neil, we're looking for a paid media manager. Do you know of anyone that might be interested? Like literally that's the line. And like depending on the role, like we're getting like 20 to 30% response rates right now, which is amazing.
But I think I even heard on a podcast you say that statement, but did you add, and maybe I believe it's yours, like if we hire them, we got something for you?
Yeah, so I do this on LinkedIn. So let's say you're big on like YouTube or LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. I'll say, hey, I'll tweet, who's the best paid media person you know? If we make the hire, I'll give you $3,000. I'll give you, and then I'll put in parentheses 50% after a month, 50% after 6 months, right? Just so they're clear. And like so many people start responding and start tagging each other, and then it just starts a cycle. You just got to make sure the money reward is high enough.
Say that statement again. I want somebody to write that down. That's how you find top talent people.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, who's the best role, like paid media person that you know? Who's the best paid media person that you know? Tag them below. I will pay $3,000 if I end up making the hire. 50% after a month, 50% after 6 months. Yep.
Yeah, I heard you say that on the podcast, bro. I was, man, I'm telling you.
It works.
What?
It's also worked. It's also not worked before. So here's what happened.
Tell us. Experience share.
One time we put that out there, and then we really needed like a sales rep, another sales rep, right? Yep. And you know, we talked to like 2 people, and this one guy we ended up making the hire, and he actually quit on the first day. But we had to pay the $3,000 out. Right. So that's why we changed it to like, hey, they have to stay for at least a month, right?
I like that.
You never know.
50% in a month. You said 50% in 6 months?
50% at 1 month, 50% at 6 months.
That's powerful.
Yep.
And you're probably finding good talent that way.
Good talent. Like there's people I have that are tagged for like to recruit to be executives, and they all came from like doing this. And so these people, like, I'm gonna tap them at some point. And like, you just do this every now and then, and it'll be good.
Jeez, I'm about to do it because I'm still looking for I'm looking for a new COO. So yeah, dude. I mean, here's another thing. This is if you end up joining a group like EO or YPO, so I explain what those are. So you know, these are like clans or guilds of like entrepreneurs, right? And like, you know, EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, is like 20,000 people worldwide. YPO is like 20, 30,000, right? EO, you have a revenue requirement you need to join. YPO, there's a revenue requirement like over $1 million, you know, over 13 million. And they have these forums where like one of them in YPO is called Great People, Great Positions. And like Brooke Castillo, the coaching coach, I know,
she actually, her COO posted in Great People, Great Positions, and like all these people responded. I posted something looking for a CEO, and all these people responded. So sometimes it's like, oh yeah, tap into your network, use LinkedIn, but like literally it's that.
And I just, as you're sitting there thinking, I'm like, I've not personally been on LinkedIn ever. Like, I've spent in my lifetime 5 minutes on LinkedIn. That's a problem.
It's worth, dude. Once you start to figure out the organic reach is amazing, like professionals are there to do business. Like,
what should I be doing on LinkedIn right now, even if I'm not doing it, if a team member? Is it a certain amount of posts you should be doing? What are you doing right now on LinkedIn?
Not as much as I should be doing. So we have a ghostwriter. When I do write on LinkedIn, last year I had like a 3-month spurt. I got like 4 million impressions or so. I probably could have gotten a lot more. But like LinkedIn, the organic reach is so good where like if you post something, you can get like, you know, 400, 500, 600,000 views on it. Right. And then people start to follow you. And I know people that have built agencies off of LinkedIn. One guy's doing like 20 million a year right now. Took him like 3 years to do it. Another guy, he's probably doing like 4 or 5 million. Took him like 2 years to do it. And so I just think there's a lot of gold to mine there. And you're basically going to write like your takeaways. You got to write it natively on LinkedIn, your key takeaways, share knowledge, right? It can't be generic stuff. It can't be like, you know, you got to work hard. Like that's not going to work well, right?
No motivation, real strategy.
Real strategy, real data, like stories that only you have, right? Like that's going to do well. And I'm sure you have a bunch of them. And like, if you don't like writing's not native to you, then hire a ghostwriter to do it and test it out.
Yeah, I got to do that. So AI's a lot is going on with AI right now. What are some things you are doing right now to leverage AI? Because again, it's going to be, I just wrote a whole book using ChatGPT the other day, and I recorded a YouTube video doing it. What are some things that you're doing or should people be doing in their space for AI right now?
What was your book about?
I wrote, it was 3 tips for acquiring high-paying customers.
Interesting. Let me know how that goes later.
I will.
So I think it's really exciting. I think ultimately,
and I wrote it in like 30 minutes, bro.
There you go.
Because it's all about the prompts, like asking right. I had to come up with the title of the book. I had to come up with the chapters of the book, and then I had every book written. I mean, every chapter done. 30 minutes all in.
I love it. I mean, I just think it's the ultimate time saver. I think it's like, to your point, like if you're using ChatGPT or Bard or like, you know, I think it's Edge on being like, it's, you're going to have to learn, humans are going to have to learn how to ask better questions. And I think that's good because we all ask stupid questions, myself included. And so I think, you know, when you look at ChatGPT, like there's crazy stuff. Like you can use it now to explain like, hey, tell me what this Excel sheet does. And then tell me how to like, give me the formula for calculating this return, but I want like a 2% yield, right? Like you can do this all for like investing, right? So I think our kids are going to learn how to like save a lot more time and just get through things faster, right? And ultimately what matters is, you know, time is the most valuable asset, right? Our attention is the most valuable asset. So I look at like what you're doing, like maybe it got you like 80% of the way there on that book and you had to finish the last 20%. we're doing that now with like marketing school, because it's daily, right? So it's 5 to 8 minutes a day. Yeah. How can we take the transcription, put it on Rev, or use a tool like Descript, take that transcription, throw it into ChatGPT and say, hey, make this a 1,500 word blog post, add in some other data, and, boom, you get the 2,000 word blog post. Then we send it through a human editor. Yeah. And then they're going to add data, they're going to add links, they're going to embed like a YouTube video to add more dwell time to the blog post. Yeah. And then like, that's it. But then we were able to output a lot more. And then coming back to SEO again, because our domain authority is so strong, we're going to publish a lot more. We're going to rank highly for a lot more things. And our traffic's going to go to, could go up to millions, right? Yeah. So that's the game.
Hey, you're looking at this and you're probably enjoying this episode and the strategies and the gems that I give you. This is just a fraction of what you learn in my mastermind, right? I would love for you to be able to learn more information on how he's able to help Carter Cofield make $1 million in one single day, how he's able to help Rochelle Parks make over $500,000 in a day, learn how he's able to help Tevin grow his Instagram following from 70,000 followers to upwards to 200,000 followers within 2 months. And again, those results are not typical. Let me be very clear, but they are possible for those who are willing to put work in, energy, and effort. If you're looking at this video right now, I want you to go to the website mastermindwithneo.com so you can apply to see if you're a good fit for our mastermind. This is specifically for someone looking to grow their digital business, right? Even though y'all probably even know David Shan, Sleepers for Suckers. He's inside of my mastermind. You probably know Sonya, the student loan doctor. He's inside of my mastermind. You probably know Darius Daniels. He's inside of my mastermind. Those are just a few more people who are absolutely crushing it as a result of being inside of the community. So listen, if you're looking at this, right, and you're probably looking at the episode like, man, you're dropping so much gems, but can you imagine how many gems you'll get when you're actually inside of the environment, when you're tapped into the community? What I want you guys to go to right now is mastermindwithneo.com so you do not miss out on your opportunity to get tapped in. You will have to apply, you will have to get on the call, and hopefully you make the cut to be a part of what we got going on. I'll see you on the inside. Let's get back to the episode. Is that on singlegrain.com?
We're about to start doing that.
Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you talked about it earlier. How did you acquire your first company? There's a lot of people listening trying to figure out.
Yeah.
You said, hey, 2014, you acquired this.
Yeah.
Who told you about it? Like, this is new, meaning acquiring companies that's not something we talk about every day. Like now I've acquired several things in the last few years, but that's not just a native thing to just acquire companies.
Yeah. So the story with Single Grain was I was 26, 27 years old. And I was brought in as the number 2, the chief operating officer for Single Grain. I was working at a startup before leading marketing, and Neil had seen this, and Neil was like, hey, the startup, I just had to like bet the entire company on YouTube ads, right? And it worked. We're about to shut down, bet everything, and it worked. And then Neil's like, hey, like, can you come help this agency? And I wasn't interested initially. I was like, agency, come on, I'm in tech. Like, I don't need to talk to agencies, right? Too good for that. But then I was like, I thought about it. I was like, dude, like, if I can help save this crappy company, I think I can do a lot, right? So 6 months into it, the company wasn't doing well. I mean, it was a failing SEO agency. Neil's cousin Sujin started it. Like, nobody's blaming each other. Like, we're all friends. We still talk to each other, right? Like, it's we kind of make fun of each other on it right now. 6 months into it, Neil pulls me aside and he's like, hey, like, it might be time to shut the company down. There's no brand equity here. You should get out. As a friend, I'm saying you should get out right now. So Neil,
he's so blunt too, bro.
Yeah, straight up, you should get out. There's nothing here, right? But so I ended up buying Neil's shares for $1 for 10%. And then his partner at the time, Heaton Shaw, really well known in Silicon Valley, I paid $1 for 10% of his shares, and the rest was seller finance. I didn't even know what the term was, right?
Wow.
Seller finance. Hey, I'll tell you what. I'll give you like, $100,000 of the company's profits, and then if it fails, I owe nothing. I didn't know it was just seller finance with a contingency, right? And so like we did the deal. My cousin, who was the lawyer that wrote the terms and all that, and that's what happened. And I won't go into too many details, but I'll just tell you this, like, and feel free if you want me to go deeper, but the company actually went from bad to worse. We dropped all the way down to 1 employee a year later.
Wow.
And,
how?
So I was a dumbass. I mean, so 27-year-old, like, oh, I'm from tech. Like, look at me. Like, I thought I knew everything, right? Yeah. And I read this book called Let My People Go Surfing from the Patagonia founder, right? Oh, yeah, let my people go surfing. So he's like, in the book, he's like, yeah, I don't show up to the office. You know, I let my people go surfing. I go surfing in lunchtime. I was like, oh yeah, stop showing up to the office, right? And then like people started coming in late, you know, watching Family Guy during office hours and all. Like everything fell apart, right? And
So you're not recommending that book?
no, it's still a great book. It's just I took it too literally, and like I think I've learned this lesson I've had to relearn this lesson, like trust but verify, right? Like you gotta.
I just heard you say that earlier. I feel like,
yeah. So trust but verify. Like I just remember that. Like I'm like, man. So anyway, outside accounting firm calls. We dropped all the way down to one employee, and they're like, hey, it might be time to shut it down. So it's like you hear this phrase again, it might be time to shut it down. And I actually took a job offer at a company in Dallas that would pay me like $300,000 in salary, 350 I think, and then $1 million like bonuses, right? It's like pretty good. Yeah. It's about to move to Dallas. Yeah. And
you said 300 in salary and $1 million in bonuses?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But then when I just it didn't feel right to me, right? I was like, I can't do this. I'd rather see this thing burn to the ground than me take this job, right? Yeah. And so I think once you get that taste of entrepreneurship, I'd rather make the $50,000 a year than make the $400,000 a year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I know.
that's what happened. Yeah. Wow. And we, you know, was fortunate enough to pick up like, you know, Philippe, Daniel, like, you know, Tiana, like those three, like key pieces. And like, again, without them, like it wouldn't have been able to grow to where it is.
What currently, how many people inside the agency and how are you keeping this thing growing? You mentioned a salesperson. I want to know, are their role to go out and find these customers as well? Outside of what are some things that people could do to acquire customers outside of SEO?
Yeah. So your initial question, I have a number 50% in my head. Can you ask the question again? I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry. I hit you with three different questions. Like, so first off, I'm curious to know how many people run in your company.
So I have the number 50 because it's 50 twice. So it's 50-ish people, right? And then our leads right now, 50-ish% come from SEO.
Got it.
Yeah. But to diversify, like 15, 20% come through podcasts. But you know what's interesting? Yeah. It doesn't matter if they come through SEO or not. Like our salesperson, and I'll answer your salesperson question. I asked the head of sales. I was like, hey, like, what percent of the people that you actually talk to actually know who I am? Not like ego, right? I just want to know like how many of them have touched a podcast or the YouTube. Yeah. And he's like 70%. I was like, whoa, like, so it's not just SEO. It's like SEO and podcasts. It might be podcasts, then they search, right? So, and then for him, he doesn't go out there. The head of sales specifically, we have a sales team, but we don't really do much outbound. We probably should do more, but all of it is kind of this is why I do the events, right? This is why I do the podcast. This is why I do the YouTube. I just like bringing people inbound because I'm more introverted. Yeah. But here's the thing about agencies. If your work is so good, you are going to be able to crank the referral engine, and the referral engine should be bigger than like whatever marketing that you're doing. Like that's the dream, because that's when you know your work is damn good.
Ooh, becomes so good that the referral engine becomes the marketing.
Otherwise, you're just like, you know, typical internet marketers, and no knock on them. They're really good at acquisition, right? Yeah. But they're not good at retention.
That's it.
And so you got to get both of them.
You know, it's so crazy. Last year, I put so much focus on retention. Like I'm like, well, I'm good at acquiring customers, but what happens if I keep all of the customers? So just say my mastermind at the time was $55,000. So if the goal was to keep 75% of everybody year over year.
Yeah.
That's just say on the low end, again, that's deal flow a lot. But let's say if a mastermind makes you $5 million a year and you keep that for 75% every year without having to go get new customers, that's a healthy, that's not a bad.
It's a hell of a concept, right? To over deliver. But like a younger me would have been like, oh, acquire, right? But I think we get a little older and it's like, oh no, we should just like over deliver and just do a damn good job.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what's your company? And I learned about, you know, possibly paying bonuses out. Do you do that model where different departments, are you doing bonuses and based on the company's growth?
Yeah. So like, let's say you're on the paid media team, right? So you're running ads for people. So, you know, you might, let's say Neil, you're running the ads. You know, you're making like $1,000 a month. Well, let's say one client's paying $1,000 a month. Yeah. Let's say they up that to $11,000 a month, right? So like 10,000 plus 10,000. You might say, okay, Neil, we'll give you 10% on the upside past the base. So now you're making extra $1,000 a month. So you're actually incentivized to work harder, right? Yeah. So it's incentivizing on the client revenue growth. Now, if you're on the operation side, you might get a bonus, right? And if you're like a key executive or a key employee, you might get like a, phantom. This is above phantom equity. So there's actually like, this is written like phantom equity. You can kind of like mess around with it a little bit and like people can get screwed.
Yeah.
But this is actually written as a contract. It's like a stock appreciation rights, right? But I actually have a document for this. It's called unit appreciation rights. So a guy that was just at the event, he did these stock appreciation rights, but you can do units if you don't have like stock to give away.
Right.
And that way they feel like they're a lot more at peace and they're like with you and they're incentivized to fight, because Munger says himself, right? Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome.
I got to start doing more incentivizing, I think.
Yeah. It's all
I put it in marketing. Well, I need to do it with the team more.
Yeah. And then like here's the thing too, like one thing that we built in, we call it incentive.soul. So if you fill out your time tracking on time, like you track 30 hours a week by Friday, we will give you, you're going to get this award, this crypto award, right? And if you fill out the employee engagement survey on time by Friday, we give you this award. Our engagement rates after incentivizing people in the company on like these behaviors that we want have shot up like 200%.
So 30 hours, tell me these, because I need that. 30 hours per week, meaning you track how much work you've done. If you put in 30 hours by Friday, because this is salary. This isn't just a 40-hour thing. This is, you might work 60 hours. So, okay, one of your things you track is 30 hours per week by Friday. What's another track?
The other one is like filling out the employee engagement survey each week, right? So it's like,
what does that mean? Tell me what.
It's like Neil, questions? Like how are you feeling 1 through 5, right? Like what's the most important thing you got done this week? What are you gonna do next week, right? What's the one thing we can do better as a company? What's one thing we should stop, right? Wow. And then you're like high-fiving each other. Like there's a tool we use called 15-5. So it's a number 15, and then you spell out 5. But like any tool that we have where there's software, there's an API, we run it through the software we have, and so we're able to track like who's actually really engaged and who's actually completing these behaviors that we want, and we're incentivizing them. Like we were paying people like $5 in crypto. Now we're removing those rewards and just having a leaderboard to see if people behave better, because people also don't like to be embarrassed in public.
Listen, I was just mad I didn't win the thing. Like I was like, I want to be, I'm like, I like that Slido.com though. It was like,
it's good stuff, right?
But it also makes, when I feel like it made me, I feel like I could have did better, but people prepare today versus yesterday because they knew they were going to go up there.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be last.
Yeah.
So that's good. So I need to do more, because I noticed that about you do a lot of surveys. Like you're pushing, even this event was really geared around, this
leveling
is what
up,
y'all
right?
want. Yeah, leveling up. It was really geared around what the people wanted.
Yeah.
So I got to really start doing. Is it mandatory or no for that survey for them?
It's, for people to fill it out?
You mean your staff? Is it mandatory, the weekly thing?
It's like we'll start to call you out if you like stop filling it out for like 3 weeks in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just, we need to see how, like, it's very easy to see who's not engaged. Like if you're just filling out each question with 1-word responses and like you're just like a 3 the whole time, like we know something's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the staff to keep them motivated with all these people not working in the office? What are some things you're doing?
It's hard, man. I'm an introvert and I miss the office. Like pre-COVID, we were already 3-2. Like we were like innovators, right? Like, but I think eventually I just want to go back to a model where it's like 2-3, at least for people that are around me. But like I will say, like our goal this year is to get everyone together at least, once, like do a conference for everyone. But with my exec team, like we're meeting like once a quarter. So, but like this is a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like Zoom, like you're a transaction.
Yeah.
I'm just ask you to do stuff. You're gonna ask me to do stuff. Like we don't really like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
your execs meeting once a quarter. Got it. What happens during that meeting? Is that a day, 2 days?
That's a 2-day thing, and then we operate on this this book called Traction. Entrepreneurial operating system, and we combine it with scaling up. So there's 2 different methodologies, but we just talk through issues, and then we do like quarterly planning, annual planning, but also like we'll go out there, like we'll eat really good food, like. Last time we did it in Miami, like eat good food, we'll do axe throwing or whatever, like some team building activities, and those just go a long way.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, thank you. We gonna call this part 1. I got to bring you back because this. I feel like we ain't diving enough. But the game you gave over this 30-40 minutes was just powerful, bro. So I appreciate it. E, so let everybody know where they can find you, how they can tap in. Again, I just got to do a plug, y'all. Leveling Up Podcast, Marketing School Podcast, 2 of my favorite podcasts on just game. If y'all want to learn every day for under 8 minutes, No fluff, just a tactical thing you could do. Y'all gotta listen to Eric Sue and Neil Patel's podcast. But go ahead and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah.
And how they can tap in.
We're always hiring great people. You go to singlegrain.com. That's the ad agency. And then you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. It's at Eric OSIU.
Let's get it, bro. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
man. Thank you. Let's go. Yeah.